Good afternoon, mech warriors, mech techs, and nobles in hiding. It is another beautiful day here on Farcad, and we are coming at you live with another dev stream. Hello, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all having fantastic days. I hope you're enjoying whatever it is you're doing. And if you're at work, I hope that you're having a nice, quiet day with no turmoil. Hello, everybody. Hello. It's a beautiful day here. I mean that seriously. The sun is absolutely shining. It is barbecue and sunbathing weather. And I should be doing neither of those things. Because I have no barbecue to hand and because I don't want to go outside. Outside is where the people are, and the people are scary. What about you guys? Are you any of you up to anything particularly exciting today? Or are you lounging at home with your feet up and MekHQ in front of your eyeballs? What have I been up to? Oh, Radar says they had a storm blow through this morning. Seems to have mostly passed, but that's good. That's good. It's always good when storms pass through. I'll be honest, I get a little bit antsy during storm weather. One time, so in the UK we don't have tornadoes at all, and the first time we had a tornado scare in the US, I was actually at home alone and my wife wasn't here, and oh, thank you, Wildfire 142A. I got it right. Thank you so much for your second month of Prime subscription. I'm glad you're having a continuingly good time. Radar says they had a crack of thunder rumble their desk. That's not good. But yeah, so the first time we had a proper tornado come through, I was at home alone and I had no idea what the hell I should do because I didn't grow up in an area where we had tornadoes. Let's say there's no tornadoes in the UK. And yeah, it was incredibly scary. It was incredibly scary. Where we were living at the time, we had a ridge which basically protected us from anything bad. But the tornado touched down at the school that I would pass to go to Walmart, so super close. Radar says, might I recommend you getting a NOAA weather radio station? That's good to know, in mind, yeah. Seeker Down says, go into the bathroom since the pipes help hold together the room. Yeah, so that's kind of what I've learned since then. Yeah, I'm a lot more learned on the whole topic now, but when I first moved to the US, I had no idea. I'm not entirely sure who was more scared, me or the dogs. Bathroom or interior closet? Mm-hmm. Yeah. We actually had a storm room in our old apartment. So, our old house. So I was basically hanging out in there. The problem with the old house is it was basically... like my office was effectively a Faraday cage, and if my office was a Faraday cage, the storm room was a lead box. Like, you couldn't get any reception in there. So I wouldn't have wanted to be trapped in there in an emergency. What have I been up to? Well, I've been continuing reading my way through Draconis Reach, and I have to say I'm really, really pleased with what I'm seeing. Like, I think Draconis Reach is a very good campaign system, especially for in-person campaigns. I've also been working on some small MegaMek projects. Chiefly, I have added actually, I should start at the beginning. For anybody who is unaware, MekHQ, Princess has a hidden honor mechanic. And how that works is, unless you shoot one of her crippled or unarmed units, she will not shoot yours. It's a great system. It stops Princess going absolutely ham and one-shotting all of your pilots because they're easy to kill. The problem is, the way that system is set up, it wasn't really set up with any player-facing stuff. So the first time you would know if you accidentally tripped, and it was very, very easy to accidentally trip the honor mechanic, was when Princess was starting to stand on your favorite pilots. And it wasn't a great system. So what we've gone ahead and implemented now is anytime you perform an action that would make you considered dishonorable, such as say, shooting a crippled enemy unit or a civilian unit, then you'll get a dialogue saying, hey, you sure? And if you're sure, you carry on, it all goes good. And at any time you get tripped as being dishonorable, you'll get one of the toasts that appear in the top of the screen, make you aware of stuff. That will pop up to let you know, hey, Princess, her safety guards have now been removed. Good luck, have fun. What other small stuff have I done? Because I'm a little bit busy this morning. Let's see here. Because I could have swore I did some other stuff. I don't think that was the only thing. Oh, that's right. So the other thing that I've done, and I have to be a little bit cagey about what I tell you guys here, because the next project is in preparation for something that we've not announced yet. It looks like we won't be announcing it until Friday. But what I've gone ahead and done is I've added in a small little handler that records what version a mole, so a scenario resolution dialogue or whatever, was saved in. And so it warns you if you're trying to open it in a version that doesn't match. It's not particularly exciting. It's just something that we needed in prep for a announcement we're going to be doing on Friday. So that's been my morning largely. Radar says they bug out to the basement if the sirens grow into life. I also keep like 2 handheld radios tuned to the nearest, I guess that's the weather channel. Helps with their anxiety if I can hear what's going on since the radio is faster than the sirens. Only way to get a faster report is to be hooked into the spotter network, but that requires being an approved spotter. Yeah, no, I hide in the bathroom nowadays. Go set myself up in the bath. So what are we going to be doing today? So there's a bit of a serious topic I want to discuss first. And that concerns burnout. And anybody who says they will never burn out is either burnt out and they don't realize it, or they have a degree of confidence that vastly exceeds their capacity, shall we say. We'll put that politely. And I'm... So as I was queuing up for work today, I kind of realized, I am starting to burn out, and I'm recognizing that I am starting to burn out. So, and I think I can just have to tell the reason why, and it largely comes down to the Contract Overhaul Project. Now, I'm really proud of what we've done so far with the Contract Overhaul Project. It's shaping to be something really, really good. The issue is that the Contract Overhaul Project, I think I can safely say it has been the most intense project I've done since joining the MegaMek team. It's involved a lot. I mean, you guys see me working on the project, but what you don't see is the hours of research and then test work that goes on before I even get on stream. Wait a second, my hair's trying to invade my mouth. Ugh. I forgot to do my hair up before I came on stream today, and my fan keeps blowing it into my mouth. It's very annoying. But yeah, you guys don't see the amount of prep work that goes into it, and like the StratCon, the StratCon map changes, for example, required me to research like professional pathfinding algorithms, and not just one, but comparing multiple algorithms to find what was going to be the best for my use. And it was days of just reading articles whenever I wasn't on stream, and so I'm starting to reach the point where I'm just like, I just need it to be over. I just need it to be done, and it's nowhere near done. So I'm needing to be realistic about what I can still achieve before I take a break. And then I need to consider, okay, well, what do I want for my break? Because I'm a streamer now, so I still need to maintain my stream. I know I've not been particularly good about that last week, for example, where I didn't have one of my medications, so got very ill. But I do still need to be able to maintain streams. And I'm trying to decide what I want to do. Because my family is still dealing with the facts that we've moved house, we've moved state, and that is incredibly expensive. And so I need to kind of factor in what I can afford. So like buying a bunch of video games or I think it's called Overdrive, whatever called. Basically, there's Overwatch or something. There's an app I can do that will allow me to play games easier on my Mac. And so I've got options like that, but that costs money, and so I need to be like, okay, what can I do? Oh, psych! I'll have a quick sippity sip of my water. Thanks, youngster. And so I'm trying to decide what I do. Now, youngster asks, I thought, were we not able to get Xenonauts 2 running? Xenonauts 2 seemed to run okay. The problem was that it requires me to get, I think it's called Overfire. Let me go on Google and find out. Overfire. Play Windows games on Mac. What is it called? What is it called? Crossover. There we go. Let me have a look, see how much crossover actually is, because the reason why we haven't played Xenonauts 2 is simply because my crossover trial ran out. Let's see. I'm trying to find out exactly how much it costs. Costs $75. I may have to talk to my wife and see if we can justify the crossover cost, because I think me being able to play video games would make it a lot easier for me to take breaks. But also I have to factor in, we've got a lot of expenses. Like my wife's picking me up a painting set and brushes and everything so that I can paint my my Mech Warriors for in-person tabletop. And we still need to get a whole bunch of furniture as well. So it's very, very hard for me to justify that. The other thing I was thinking of, and this is kind of more what I was kind of pushing towards, because what I don't want this to come across as, I don't want this to come across as me like suggesting you guys make donations, stuff like that, so I can get Crossfire. That's not what I'm doing here. I wasn't even going to bring Crossfire up really, but what I'm kind of thinking about, and I wanted to get an idea of what you guys thought of this. I've been doing a lot of research into solo RPGs, and I was thinking one of the things I could do would be we could do a solo BattleTech RPG. And I could spend a few days just on stream playing through a solo campaign of that, or if not a BattleTech one, then I could probably do it. I could easily do a fantasy one. Secret Advance says that could be fun. Youngster says, for one-off stream, I always strongly recommend Frog Fractions. I think we're still waiting on Frog Fractions 2, aren't we? Glittermitten Grove. Frog Fractions 2 came out? Oh my god, okay. That's good to know. But yeah, I'm kind of thinking that I could do, because me and my wife are really starting to look into solo RPGs, and one of the ones that I have been highly recommended, I don't know if Axtrazi's in chat, but if they are, they'll recognize this. And I've immediately forgotten what it's called. Bastionland. There we go. So one of the things that because I've been talking to Axtrazi about, and one of the things that they should, I think they're him. One of the things that actually I'm going to go on. Let me just quickly double check. So what last thing I want to do is misgender them. Give me 2 ticks. Actually, I see him. Perfect. So yeah, one of the games that he's been recommending is Bastionland. And one of the cool things about Bastionland is essentially you are a knight going in to search. You're searching for the city, a mythical place. And one of the good things about Mythic Bastionland is it seems well suited to shorter campaigns, where we can play through a couple of nights, and you guys can help me name the nights and all that good stuff, and then we can go on quests. And one of the really cool things is Bastion Land, the tool, is there is a realm maker available online. And if I go into player view, so this would allow me to start off on the edge of the map and sort of explore down, and we'll be able to see what's going on. And if I can change it off to for player view, I think if I click here, no, it doesn't tell me. I was hoping it would tell me what the GM stuff would be, but essentially we'd make we could craft a hex map as we go, and explore the world. And I believe itch.io has hex maker. I think it's called hex maker. Hex kit. There we go. And this hex kit allows you to craft maps as you go, and it's only $15. I can easily afford this. You can see as an example, we could craft ourselves a hex map. But I know that Mythic Bastion Land wouldn't really be BattleTech themed. It'd be more of just a chill hangout thing. So what I want to check in is that something that you guys would be interested in? Because if you are wanting more BattleTech focused stuff, then I can find a sci-fi solo rule set, and then I should be able to like craft it into a BattleTech flavor. Eve is fine? Okay. Youngster, speaking for myself, I'm all in on BattleTech sci-fi. Yeah, I'm kind of aiming. I'm thinking BattleTech would be more on brand, and I like BattleTech. I would love to have a little BattleTech exploration. Hey Hammer, you're joining us just as we discuss sort of ideas that we could do for me taking a break to avoid burnout, because I definitely feel like I'm getting to a point now where I'm starting to brush against the wall. I think what I can do is I will have a chat with Eric Strazi after stream today. I'll harass them because Eric Strazi is super into and anybody following on at home isn't aware, Eric Strazi is one of our regular viewers. Eric Strazi is super clued in on solo play stuff. And in fact, one of the things I could do, because I do own Destiny, and because Destiny is so rules light, we might actually be able to run a solo Destiny campaign. That could work, actually. I would need to pick myself up an Oracle kit. For anybody unaware, in solo play, oracles are essentially a list of tables that you would roll upon to help you decide things via RNG that the GM would decide. And one of the very famous ones is Mythic Games Master Emulator. There it goes. Is this wonderful little document. And so and this is something that me and my wife are planning to buy ourselves for our own personal gaming. But yeah, I'm thinking that I could probably do a solo Destiny game that you guys could join the adventure of. Secret Dev says, I really enjoyed Arkham Horror Second Edition as a solitaire game through Vassal. But yeah, I think what I'll do is I will get me and my wife to pick up Mythic Game Master Emulator. Hammer says, in my opinion, the first step to managing burnout is to recognize it, and also recognizing it if you're feeling like you're close to burnout means you're burned out. Yes, yeah, this is my thing, because the Contract Overhaul Project has, I'm literally repeating myself now, but it is important. The Contract Overhaul Project has easily been the most complex and most demanding project I have ever done on the project, on the MegaMek project, and I've been working on this, I think, for 2 months at this point. I think it's been 2 months, and I settled down this morning to think about what I would be doing today, and my brain just oozed out of my ears, and that's a sign. If I'm no longer enthusiastic about a project, that is like the big sign that I am burning out. So yeah, I think Hannah confirmed about 2 months, like then with Force Gen. Yeah. So I think what I'm going to need to do really is I'll have a read of Destiny, because I've got the Destiny manual. It's in one of my boxes somewhere, and then I'll have a chat with Agstrazi and see what they can recommend. And I think, yeah, a little solo Destiny campaign could be a lot of fun, and it's creatively interesting and something I feel like I could make entertaining without it being a huge amount of work for me. It's because programming requires different brain muscles to coming up with an emergent narrative. Like, they are very, very different things, and I do think that's probably what I'm going to need to look into. Okie dokie. So leave this to me. And the best thing about doing solo RPGs is my computer can run them. When all I need is a Word doc and some dice, my computer can run them. So yeah, leave it to me, and we will see what we can do. It does mean that because it's not MegaMek related, I probably won't be announcing it on the MegaMek Discord. But yeah, okay. So how about this, gang? Those of you who are on the IllianiDev Discord, and those of you who aren't, you can find it in either on Twitch or YouTube, in the place where links live. Head down there. Suggest what kind of solo campaign. Give me like a prompt that you would like to see, a story we explore. And we'll just come we'll do it like collaboratively. We'll see what kind of story we want to tell. And we'll do it BattleTech. It'll be BattleTech. So we're either going to do a Destiny solo play, or we'll find another sci-fi system and adapt that to BattleTech. It'll basically come down to whichever's the easiest for me. But yeah, no, I think this could work, certainly. Okay, well that's that out of the way. That was kind of the big heavy conversation of the day. Let's talk about more what we're going to do right now. Hammer says you could do some of the old BattleTech RPG modules. That might work. That might work. My problem there is I'd have to convert them to Destiny, which might take a bit of work, but I might be able to do something. And anybody wondering why Destiny and not Time of War? It's a simpler system. Destiny is a much more rules-light narrative system, and there's a fewer rules I have to sit and crunch, the better for my brain it will be. But heading over to IntelliJ. Here we are. And what we're going to do today is, those of you who were with me yesterday will know that we hammered together a very, very crude dialogue to allow us to quickly see. Seeker 10,000 says, what channel in the Discord would you like me to post my idea? Oh, just post it in general. Because we're a much smaller Discord than, say, the MegaMek Discord, we don't have to be particularly strict about what channels people post, and I really don't care. I read them all, it's all good. And I'll do an announcement later as well, so anybody who misses today's episode or the start of today's episode will be clued in. But yeah, so anybody who was here yesterday will be aware that we bashed together an incredibly crude dialogue to allow us to see whether whether contracts were generating correctly, and they were for the most part. They are now. There were some issues, but they are now. So I'm going to very quickly show you guys what that looked like, and then I'll go over what we're going to be doing today. While we're waiting for the load, I can give you a very brief summary of what the plan is. Today, our big focus is going to be on handling negotiations. Not the final negotiation mechanics. It's more making sure that as we change negotiation, clause steps, and I'll go into that in a second, but as we change clause steps, the relevant information is being changed and that we've got the back end sorted out. Once that's done, we're actually at a point where we can start really seriously converting over existing mechanics to use the new system. Now we'll either just set up the UI and have the UI do UI shaped things, or we will do the hookup first and then do the UI second. Not entirely sure which route I'll take. We will take a route. So let's go ahead and boot up Learning Ropes. Doesn't really matter what campaign we use because it's just an example. And we're just making sure everything seems to be working as it should do. Just waiting for that to load up. So this is what the dialogue looks like right now. And as you can see, this is just an absolute mess, and that's okay. That is okay. I still don't know why this is all in one line, but whatever. The reason why it's okay is because the only reason this exists is just to make sure that everything is generating as it should do. And you can see it largely seems to be. So that's good. So now we're going to come out of here, and we're going to go back into IntelliJ, and I'm going to introduce you to some existing code. Secret Advanced said this is a debug menu. Basically, yeah. So essentially, what we were looking at there is just a quick way for me to generate contracts. Like there's a regenerate button I can hit, and it just so I can see, okay, what contract values are being set. That's very important. But for us to do negotiations, we now need to be able to adjust the values. So one of the things I was thinking of is that it could probably work if we mirror it off the reinforcement dialog. So the reinforcement dialog has both spinners, where spinners are basically where you have a value you can change the number up and down. So we have spinners, and we also have text that updates. So our next goal is going to be to essentially copy across as much data as we can, much code rather, not data, from the StratCon reinforcement confirmation dialog that I wrote last year, and change that to work for negotiations. Now again, what we're working for is not a final UI design. This is purely to go, okay, do the does changing a step correctly change the appropriate value? So does it do the math? Exactly. So I'm just checking here. Okay, so here's where we set the dialogue itself. And we actually need to change to immersive dialogue core instead of simple, because core gives us a bunch of extra stuff. Left speaker is who appears on the left of dialogue, right speaker is who appears on the right of the dialogue, and we're not really worrying too much there, but we can do something like this. Campaign get senior admin person Oh lordy, what the hell happened? Piss off. And we want, no, let's go for command. There we go. So this will get our senior command personnel. Boop. Oh lord, there's a whole bunch of extra stuff. Okay, get ye over there. Because normally we wouldn't want to use his clan campaign. We'd want to use his clan force. But again, we don't need the code to be perfect, 'cause this is purely a placeholder. But sometimes good habits are good to keep, even if it's generally not necessary. And that's what turns them into habits. Secret 10,000 says, what determines if something is a clan force versus clan campaign? A clan campaign is just the old way of finding out if it's a clan force. Fundamentally, they do the exact same thing. But just clan force is just the modern way of asking, is it a clan campaign? Didn't mean to do that. Essentially, it used to be that fundamentally we're setting up for the possibility, no current plans, the possibility that one day we might want to have multiple forces in a single campaign, like a player force and like an NPC force, for example. But that's not something that we're really doing. Right now, at least. If contract. The Almanacs got merged into the Nightlies? I don't believe so. There's still some stuff on the Almanacs I want to do. If anybody unaware, we've added a Warriors Almanac that will trigger on New Year. That tells you about what stuff's been changed in like equipment status. I don't believe it's been merged. Let me quickly check. It's probably going to be not merged for a little bit, just because I've already told Hannah there's stuff I wanted to do. Yeah, Warriors Almanac's not even been reviewed, let alone merged. Okay, so buttons, no, in-character message should be this. We need to pass in the contract. At this point, if we're not generating, that's what I thought, we actually only need to pass in the contract. Seeker Demand says, can you pull up the current year's almanac? Yeah, so in the taskbar on the top of MekHQ, there's a reports option, and the almanac's in there, so you can pull it up at any time. Not going to worry about that, because again, this is purely a placeholder. Okay, so that gives me new buttons. Our character message is going to be null. Is vertical layout false? Then we're going to need to have the spinner, J panel. Then we haven't got an image, but it is modal. Radar says, I find it funny the princess was the one that finally convinced me to swap to the Nightlies. The princess in the Nightlies is very good. Okay, so now we need to get the spinner panel. Get spinner panel. And we want to remove a J panel. J panel, there we go. Import the damn class. Thank you, thank you. So, how are we doing the spinner panel? So for this, we're largely just going to copy this. Wow. And then we're going to go in and see what needs to be done. So the breakdown is the label. Okay, so we don't need to worry about additional support points. That's a non-issue. Get target number breakdown. I see, I see. So we actually switch that out for build text from contract. So that actually needs to be a class level value. We can do that. I'm not entirely sure what's happening here. Let me quickly double check that we haven't accidentally got our thing set up. So get speaker, get other speaker, get in character text, get buttons, get out of character message, center width. It should be null. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So back down to here. So we actually do need a maximum. Step 1, I believe it's going to be. Perfect. Okay, I think at this point you can go away. So the minimum step value is going to be very simple. So minimum is going to be blah, and maximum will be blah. Now I'm already seeing an issue here. This is like a very poor way to do that. So chaos contract step. I'm going to call it chaos contract minimum step value. That's good. That's good. Better, because if we see this on its own, we don't know what minimum and maximum really is. So this just helps us more easily go, oh, that's related to chaos contracts. Because the sign of a good constant or a variable name, and these are variable names ultimately, a sign of a good constant is that it's just looking at it, you can go, ah, yes, this is, this is exactly what that does. If you're needing to dig into the code to find out what a variable does, that's generally a sign that something has gone wrong. Okay, so I'm going to look at determined terms. Pay rate, support, transport seem to be the main ones. So let's just double check. Pay rate, support, transport, salvage, and command. Right, okay. So with that in mind, we need to update this. So step. So in theory, this should be all that's needed. In theory. We also shouldn't need these HTML tags. We're not too worried about steps being saved. And I've mentioned this before, but I will emphasize it here. What we're doing here is not representative of the overall intention of how you'd actually interact with the system. This exists, what we're doing here, purely, and I mean purely, to ensure that everything's working under the hood as it should be. Now you'll notice that these are all effectively the same thing. So what we'll do, again, good habits become habits because you do them all the time. We will be removing the boilerplate. Okay, so give me... All right, we're gonna have to do this a different way. Easily done though. There we are. Negotiations spinner. Negotiations spinner. And a habit that I'm trying to get out of, and that's actually a really bad one, is naming variables like this. So we're calling the J spinner the spinner. I'm sure, but that doesn't tell me what the point of the spinner is. So negotiations spinner is the better variable name. Well, actually, we don't need to do that. This is actually valid how it is. Goody, goody, goody. That's correct. Okay, we do need to do labels. That's an issue. We can do like this. String label. So this is one of the annoying things about spinners is they don't have an attached label. So for every spinner, you need to create a label manually. It's a bit of a pain in the ass. We see this a lot in campaign options, just having to make these bloody little labels to everything. So I'm curious, what are you guys most looking forward to in 51.01? That's always something I'm interested in. I think the thing I'm most interested in is the new core rules. Like, I'm very excited for that. I put in my pre-order at my local game store for the new core rules on Sunday, actually. My wife has been kind enough to get me the new core rules, the box set, and the starter set as well, which I'm very grateful for. I think I've missed a spinner. Let's see. Pay. Support. We're missing support. Then transport, salvage, command. That's all exactly as it should be. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. BattleTech says they were looking for the core rules as well. Radar says they can't wait to get hold of the new core rules, waiting for that day for them to release and when I can enter phase 1 testing so I can start playing with them. Radar's also realised that since they're in the nightlies, they're no longer affected by the curse of blandness. Anybody unaware, the curse of blandness is a minor bug in 51.0 milestone, where all characters generate with 5 in every attribute score. Basically be the equivalent of every D&D character generating with 10 in every attribute. But not as impactful, as attribute scores aren't a massive impact on player experiences. What do you mean this can be converted to a local? Oh, I see. Okay, so we do need to return the spinner. Otherwise, we're not setting the values correctly. Where are we? There we go. That's all back to void, and now we're doing it right. But up here, we need to do some minor gestures. New J label. Honestly, actually, if we define it up here, we don't have to faff around down there. That is in fact the best way to do that. Excellent. So you might be thinking, oh, hard-coded strings. That, in this instance, in this one single instance, is actually okay, because again, this is not a final UI. This is just for me to check, hey, is this working? So we need current step value as the next one. Why do I need contract? Ah, that's why. Int current value pay rate. I'll catch up on with chat in just a little bit. BattleTech says, my local group has been playing with the playtest rules since the playtest started, so we're all ready for the 4 core rules. I was fortunately given a PDF copy of the new rules early, so it's been exciting to read everything. It's such a nice book. Radar says, yeah, I've been playing with the new playtest rules ever since they came to MegaMek. Yeah, the new book is beautiful. There we go. All good and dandy. So this gives us our spinners. And it gives us our constraints. Let's just lay out. There we go. Okay, so then we go up here. That's all done. Alrighty then. Let's yeah, okay, we make all these final. Make them nice and neat. Now, one of the things I'm setting up here is potentially we're going to make some of this be more public facing, and we might actually make this the framework for make this more public. Well, basically, I'm thinking about using this as the framework for negotiations themselves, but I'm not entirely sure. There you go. Okay, we're going to boot up MekHQ and see what broke. One of the things I'm really excited about Core coming to MegaMek is I've actually not been playing with the playtest rules, so I really wasn't a fan of the side table changes. And apparently I wasn't alone on that either. That was one of the least popular changes they were suggesting. Didn't make it into the final Core rules, of course. But because I didn't like the side table changes, I couldn't play with the reduced ammo explosion rules. So finally getting to do that really makes me happy. Radar says the side table rules are not great. The side table rules were fantastic on paper. It was when they interacted with certain equipment and other things that became a problem. Okay, so we have our big report of all this stuff, and then we post it twice. That's not what we want. So in this case, we actually want to come in here and get rid of this. Sent a message cannot be null, so we'll make it empty. What do they interact poorly with? Okay, so the first thing is because of how the side table rules were set up, it significantly made skirmish mechs, so especially jumpy mechs that were able to consistently get into a particular side arc, really powerful. Especially against a mech that had ammunition in the side torso, it made focusing down that ammunition really easy. It also just completely fell apart the moment you introduced Innosphere XL engines, because it made killing, and to be fair, killing an Innosphere XL engine equipped unit is relatively easy compared to other units already, but it made having an Innosphere XL just a complete and utter liability against any player that understood what they were doing, because that player would just constantly be hammering your one side torso until it killed your mech. And we were seeing assault mechs being taken out in a single turn, that sort of stuff. It just significantly increased the time to kill, or decreased the time to kill, I should say, and it just wasn't a good feeling. Okay, so here is our very shit dialogue. So we've got we've got an underworld fixer. Oh, are we a pirate? No, we're just on a really terrible place, it seems. Let me just come out of here. Where are we on somewhere with a questionable hiring hall? Questionable. Okay, cool. So that's working. So when you're in a questionable hiring hall, you get an underworld fixer instead of your usual contact. So we have our negotiator on the left. We have the enemy negotiator on the right. So let's go and see. Now, obviously, this looks a bit crap, but I don't really care about that. So now what we're checking is, well, does this update correctly? So let's go ahead and, so we can see here, command rights negotiations. We rolled a 10. We rolled really well on command rights negotiations. That's cool. And if I hit regenerate, There we go. The command rights change. Perfect. So now what happens if I change my pay rate negotiations? So, pay rate is step 6. We changed it to step 5. That doesn't seem to be right. Okay, so right now these aren't doing anything. I'm guessing because we're not... Oh, we haven't hooked it up. That'll be why. I wonder why that changed this... Oh, because it moved. Okay. Pay rate step 5. Regenerate. Okay. Cool. So that seems to be working. Youngster said stretch. So my posture was fine this time, youngster. It's because I had I was resting my chin in my chiseled jaw. Young says I've got too many points. Phil's birthday man. Yeah, I need to set up another community. Oh my god, we're on the wrong screen. Actually, no, we're on the right screen. Hooray! But yeah, I need to set up another community goal. I'm trying to think what I want to do there. So, we know that's all working now. But the problem is we now need to set the appropriate... So, for the sake of making this as easy as possible for me to work with, we are going to do away with... We're going to allow the boilerplate, basically. Just because it's going to make working with this significantly easier, and I want to make sure that we're getting it right. It doesn't need to be pretty. Like I say, good habits are always good to keep, but sometimes you need to make sure that what you're working with is going to give you the best possible result. And here, it was not. And you'll see why in just a second. Maybe get some new mechs to the bastards. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking, but I like to have like fun narrative ones. So I'm just kind of thinking about, okay, well, what do I want to do? I'll figure something out. I think a lot's also going to depend on, because what I need to do this week is I need to go in and repair and rearm the bastards after the evacuation from Pinnacle. So we'll see what I do there. Okay, so... we need to just seeing if I've already got a method here. I don't. So public from step value. Oh, that's all good. That is exactly what I want. There we go. Perfect. Hooray! New step value. Let's get value. Chaos contract. Let's do this here. Okay, I need to check how are we handling this. Young says 100k, get them a clan mech? Maybe. So we need to get contract terms. Okay, how do I want to do this? Because these all use the same value, so I can't easily make a public contract terms data. Nah, that's not gonna work. Okay, we can do it like this. Pay rate, support, transport, salvage, and then command. And then what we will do is we'll mark these as nullable. Boolean is update values. No, that's what I need to do. I need to add in existing terms. This pay rate, there we go. Let me just double check how I'm handling this for others, because this isn't the only place that we're updating a record. Just got to find one that's... There we go. Oh, I see how we're doing it. Okie dokie. I said I know how to do it and I immediately forgot how I'm doing it. That's not good. Okay. So I need to remove this and replace it with existing terms. Why is this working here? Oh, I see. I see. I was over egging the pudding. It was a namespace collision, I believe. See if this will work. Okay, why is that not working? Okay, pay rate, support, transport, existing terms. It's all good. This is only allowed in a constructor body. Oh, there we go. Problem solved. Da, 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 da. Okay. And this is pay, so this should be step. Oh. There we go. And effectively, that is what we need to do here. So new step value will be this, get value, then step becomes here. We missed this. Interesting. I think we've missed something. We have. Buggity, buggity, buggity. That's knocked everything out of kilter. How annoying. But such is life. Alright, let's boot up and see if it all works. So what should happen now is that we it should now update the terms of the contract. We'll see if that's exactly how it works, but it hopefully will. So I'm heading over to MekHQ. Ciao. Seeker says they're heading out. Well, take care, Seeker. I hope you have a good day. Okay, so we're looking at step 7 up here. That changes to step 8, step 9. But our monthly pay is zeros. And that is because we have a scale of 0. So this appears to be working, but our next step is going to be to verify trying to think what else we want to do. Oh, command rights. Where's our command? Oh, we'd get those dynamically. Okay. So our next step is going to be to calculate the scale. So if you bear with me just a moment, I am going to step away for just a couple of moments. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. And I am back. So I took a couple of moments to rest my voice, but also pick up Hotspot's hinterlands. So we could cross-reference that as well. And also MechWarrior Destiny, so I can start reading through it and seeing exactly what I want to do. But I will leave that aside from them now. One of the things I wanted to check was whether there were any differences in Hotspot's hinterlands compared to Hotspot's Draconis Reach when it came to scale. The other thing I want to do is very quickly, I should have the PDF for Chaos Campaign in my Dropbox, so I'm quickly grabbing that. I think I stored it under scenario packs. Give me just a second. Chaos Campaign Succession Wars. That seems legit. I'm looking specifically for scale. Okay, so Chaos Campaign Succession War doesn't touch scale at all. And neither does the old Chaos Campaign. Okay, so also if my voice sounds a bit weird, I bit my lip yesterday. And it's starting to puff up a little bit. Okay, so we know from Draconis Reach that a single lance plus support. It's basically it's each scale is roughly equivalent to 1 lance. So let's go and mark that we've updated. What change did we make to campaign? I don't think that was intentional. So whatever changes those were clearly not intended. It's all good. Improved test dialogue. So now we need to go to the actual contract generation. So we need to figure out how to work out, determine scale. And I believe we can mark that as intensity. Intensity seems like a good place to put it. Chaos contract determination scale. So how the bloody hell do I want to work this out? Can I get forces? So I guess really the hangar's probably all I'm going to need at this stage. So let's think about how do we want to work this out, because this is where we get one of the big departures between Draconis Reach and MekHQ, because Draconis Reach assumes that you are always fighting as a singular force, where more or less, whereas MekHQ players can set multiple combat teams. So do we mark the scale as based on the actual scale, or do we mark the scale based on the Draconis Reach scale? Because Draconis Reach assumes that if you are deploying as a company, so you're scale free, then all scenarios will be scale free. Whereas in MekHQ, you could have a company that would be scale free, but it's made up of 3 scale 1 lancers, scale 1 combat teams. Someone's adding me. Give me a second. What's going on here? So how do I want to do this? Because if I mark it as scale 1, for example, and the player has a company, then they're only being paid for one of their lancers, so we can't really do that. I think we need to work it out based on how many combat teams. Can we do that? Really, we need combat forces. How many units? Yeah, let's do it by units. So 4 units in hangar, get units. Unit, get combat team, get force, formation ID. So we're going to go with int formation ID. And we're going to need to get campaign for now. BattleTech says, in Draconis Reach, a contract at scale 1 has a unit limit of 3 and a BV limit of 4.5. Okay, maybe depending on what limits the detachment falls under, it's set at that scale. That's kind of what I'm thinking here. That's kind of what I'm thinking. So actually we only need player force here. Player force. If formation doesn't equal null, then we need combat team. Boolean, no. Formation. Player force combat. Get all combat teams. I think this is what we're looking for. Yes, okay. So we need to get player force, get combat teams as map. Combat team map. Cardboard, if you can find me the page reference for the scales, because the only one I could find was how many units you can bring into a scenario. No. This is not what we want to do. Actually, we can skip. So if formation is none, get role in memory is surely have is combat. Page 36 chart at the bottom. Thank you very much. There we go. This is what I'm looking for. Actually, we can just pass in his Hydra duty. That is all good. Okay, let me have a look at page 36 in Draconis Combine, Draconis Reach even. Ah, here we are. Okay, so it's 4.5 thousand BV per. With a unit limit of 3. Well, if we can ignore the unit limit and valid battle value. And instead of doing this, we go unit, get battle value. I'm trying to decide if we're going to use generic, but I think we won't. Private final static int battle value per scale. It's 4,500. This would be a seal. Alrighty then. Okay, so that's going to give us our scale without too much faffing around, thankfully. So if we head back over to abstract contract generation, we should now be able to scrollity scroll and okay, we need to do this after type, location, force ratings, skill equipment of both sides. Where am I defining scale? Okay, we're using scale here, but where am I storing scale then? So it looks like we're just storing scale at the contract level. Just verify that. Yeah, okay, we're just storing it at the contract level. So at that point then, I didn't mean to close out there, we go into employer, type, and this is when we can do scale. Step 3, scale and intensity. Chaos contract, determine scale. Is this truly the only place that I'm getting player force? That doesn't seem likely. Apparently so. Get player force, and we also need detachment. And then we need to know is the objective. Actually, we can do contract here. Contract. Get objective type is cartridge duty. Contract set scale. Contract set. So we also have determined intensity. Are we using this? Where the hell are we using this? Set track count. Track count we're doing all the way down here. So this actually gets moved up. Player force. We also need local hangar. Okay, my bloody fingers. Come on, get in the right place. There we go. Interesting. I'm not entirely sure we're returning objective type there. That seems unnecessary. Not null. Void. There we go. Didn't mean to do that. We are going to rename this variable to chaos objective type to differentiate it between contract type or contract objective type, which is a different thing. That all seems good and dandy. All right, so let's boot ourselves back up and then see what we're kicking out. We'll need to update the step counts. We can do that later. Right now, we're purely just trying to see, hey, is this doing anything? There we are. Okay. All right, so we actually have a monthly pay now. Of 18 mil a month. Combat pay of 18 mil as well. Seems pretty decent. One concern I have is the total pay is coming out at 13.5 million. That seems reasonable. Do we have transport pay? Oh, that's a transport pay. Okay. Yeah, that seems reasonable. So let's go ahead and adjust base pace. What we should see is this should become 10, and then our monthly pay and combat pay should change. Okay. So it didn't, and I know why. Because what we need to do now is we need to come back here and we need to go to fire off determine contract pay. This would actually need to be public. Bit of a pain in the butt, but that's fine. So which means we need to make this a more obvious named thing. So determine contract pay for chaos contracts. So diddly-o, we're going to go back to our diff. We use diff because it's super easy to jump to what we've actually changed. And we have changed dialogue test. No, not dialogue test. We need the actual dialogue. Oh, no. No, we do need dialogue test. I'm being dumb. All right, so first things first, we're going to rename this because I am... Work in progress is crap. Let's just call it. Let's just call it what it is. Let's call it what it is. There we go. Also in the wrong screen. Well, hey, it's the first time of this episode, which is, improvement. Couple text says combat pay is static in Draconis Reach. Monthly pay is affected by contract terms, while combat pay is always equal to 500 times scale. We'll have to double check that we're doing that correctly then. Glad I got you in chat. In fact, we're going to move this entire method out, and we are going to put it in contract utilities. BattleTech says, okay, reading over page 26 again for base pay and combat pay, I think what I said is correct. Base pay, monthly pay, is affected by contract terms, while combat pay is always 500 times scale for a successful track. Now, one of the things we'll definitely have to factor in MegaMek, we absolutely cannot have the player being paid 500 times scale for every scenario they do. That will get a lot of money very quickly. So we'll probably reserve that for just essential scenarios, so the contracts mandated scenarios. Okay, so transport, monthly pay, and combat pay. Okay, so we need to detach these, but that's okay. But it is now going up. So that's all working as it should. However, let's go back to utilities. And we are actually going to probably change this, actually, because I'm not sure it's a good idea for us to be doing all this updates every time. Okay, so That allows us to update contract finance data without needing to update everything. So go to contract utilities and calculate, get monthly pay. Okay, so that gives us monthly pay. All very good and dandino. Combat pay we need to adjust because combat pay is always that times scale, and we don't get the contract base multiplier. Let's go for a determination, actually. Chaos, contract, pay, determination. Rather than having some utilities, because this is quickly becoming not a utilities thing and more of an overall pay thing. Where's my utilities gone? There we are. And if we head over to abstract contract, where we have pay, contract finance data, and we can go public void update base pay. And we're also going to want to have this will be contract finance data equals BattleTech in chat is mentioning about how in Draconis Reach you pay to improve your pilots, and I think that's something that we might introduce as a really nice, sexy money sink. But I have to keep it in mind that like I can't just force it on players, because needing to pay say 20,000 C bills to upgrade a pilot, I could see players complaining against that. But I also at the same time I think it's 200,000 C bills. But at the same time, I think that's a really, really good way to reduce player cash flow. So it's something I'm definitely going to be looking into, but it probably won't be enabled by default. So these are utility methods that are going to allow me to quickly update the various pays. So don't need that. Don't need that. Don't need that. And don't need that. Actually, these will need to become public, unfortunately, because we're going to need to access them outside of the package. So what do you base pay? Cowboy Texas, yeah, I bring it up mostly to give context to what you're putting your combat pay SP towards. Since MekHQ doesn't handle pilot progression in that way, I think reducing the amount you get from combat pay makes sense. Maybe. One of the things I need to be very careful of is this is going to be a massive shift in the campaign economics, and I need to make sure I'm not just completely screwing players over with how big a shift it is. And we don't have anything to update for support because this should be built dynamically. Transport we absolutely do though. Current salvage rights, that's not something we need to recalculate. Command rights again, we shouldn't need to recalculate that. Okay, let's boot it and find out. Oh dear. There we go. One of the things I definitely can say with confidence is that this is going to be introducing a lot of money sinks that players aren't going to be used to. And so building on what I said a second ago, it's going to be really, really important for me to boil a frog. I know from like 2024, 2025, if we have a lot of big balance changes in a short amount of time, players get very upset with us. So this is probably going to be stuff where I introduce the system how it is now and then slowly draw it back as the players get used to everything. Okay, so we've got our transport 0 C bills. Interesting. I guess I rolled really poorly on transport. Base pay, well, monthly is 9 million and combat pay is 15 mil. Okay. So adjusting base pay, it's going up. Transport. Oh, transport is affecting the wrong thing. Let me go back in. Oh, update transport pay. Diddly dum, diddly dum, dum, la di da di da. There is also another approach where we put in all the money sinks up front and then slowly loosen them. Okay, so monthly pay and combat pay should stay the same. Transport pay should change. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And that takes us up to 18 mil for transport. And where are we going? Ray Cavis. Why is it not giving me... Okay, so that... Where's my jump path? Hang on a second, something smells bad here. Why am I not getting a jump path? There we go. Okay, so that overall would cost me basically 6 million C-bills, and I'm getting paid 18 million, which allow me to essentially pocket there and back again, pocket like 6 million. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, we can work with that. So effectively, it's anticipating a 9 million C-bills there, 9 million C-bills back, which works out well for some future tech because it then means that the player can afford to upgrade their jump crews if they wish. What would it look like if I created a new campaign? Because one of the things I'm really, really excited for is this system is going to much better support small campaigns like single lance starts and stuff like that. Let's create ourselves a brand new company. It looks like we're starting on Luthien. And we go to the contract market. And so we're rolling 7. It's going to give us 6 million C-bills. And our target system is... Where is it? Kenosha. So 6 million C-bills to go to Kenosha. apparently doesn't exist. Because, okay, try that again. So we've been paying 3 million C bills to go to 3 million C bills to go to Luthian while we're on Luthian. So I think we immediately see an issue here. If the jump path is 0, we should be not offering monetary reimbursement for jumping. So let me have a look back at how we calculate jump pay, because I'm thinking maybe it needs to be adjusted a little bit. So that looks to be around about page 25. These are paid to reach the contract location. This is typically 300 SP for jump ship and dropship costs to reach destination. They are only paid once per contract. At higher scales, the transport cost is multiplied by the contract scale. Scale 2 force pays 600 SP for transportation costs. The contract is taken while at a hiring hall. Transportation costs will also include returning the mercenary back to the hiring hall for the completion of the contract, if desired by the mercenary. Okay. So it's just a flat pay. That's fine. We, however, will make some adjustments. So contract pay determination, transport pay, destination system, contract get target system. And we will say if objects equals destination system and current system. BattleTech says there are optional rules for jumps that are larger than the base 300 SP. Oh, do you know where those are? Because I haven't seen those. Cardboard says they're looking perfect, thank you. Page 26 on tracking jumps. You are being invaluable, Cardboard. Thank you so much. Oh my god, it's literally there. Literally the next paragraph. If using one of the system maps of the BattleTech universe to plot where the campaign is heading, the players may wish to have the cost vary with the number of jumps needed to reach the location of the contract from the player's current location, at 50 SP plus 50 SP per jump. Perfect, okay. So, in that case, we don't actually need any of this crap anymore. Because, actually, no, we can shortcut it. Shortcutting is fine. But where is my jump path? So, contract, get jump path. No, I need contract, utilities, get jump path. Then you got contract and current location. jump path. Int jump count equals if jump count equals 0, turn the 0. Perfect. So now let's have a look at, actually let's do a minor tweak to the dialogue before we do anything further. Oh, actually, we need to do some updates here. Give me 2 ticks. Cardboard Tech says, seems like petrol station terms also covers base pay for months spent traveling to the destination. So base pay term negotiation is only for when you are at the destination. Good to know, because that's different to how it works in campaign operations. It works really dumb in campaign operations, honestly. Because basically how it works in campaign operations is any time that you're on a contract, you are basically paid. And it means that so long as you just keep chaining contracts, you are never really needing to worry too much about pay. And that's like one of the things I really like about Draconis Reach is while players can escalate and snowball to a degree, much less of a degree than Hinterlands, the main thing is that it has checks and balances specific to try and reduce player escalation. And that's something that campaign operations sorely needed. Okay, so we're looking at 33 million CBILS transport. Where are we going? Where are we going? Where the bloody hell is the target system? Pillar 2. Okay, they're offering us 33 million CBILS for transport to Pillar 2. So we'll be making effectively 13 million CBILS off of that. So let me just consider. So they are paying us 33 million CBILS minus. We're gonna say 10.4. million C bills, and that would be doubled because it's going to it's assuming, because we're on a hiring haul, it's assuming we're going back to the hiring haul. And then we need to look at, it's going to take us 89 days. 89, well, technically 90, divided by 28 days to the month. That is going to be 3.2. What is our finances like? Apparently we're on a contract, but whatever. Let's just get rid of that contract. So we make a monthly profit of minus that per month. Interestingly, not paying for the whole bunch of the stuff. Let me change this over to veteran. Wrong menu. Because this is on the new player presets. Let's change this over to veteran. Decline, 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 decline. Sure, sure. Okay, there we go. That's more like it. So we are paying about 850,000 C bills per month. Which is about 2.75 thousand over the course of the travel, which would get us a total profit Oh, I think I'm missing a 0 off of that. Let me double check how long it's taking, what the cost of just getting there is. Negotiations, this is going to cost us 10.4, which is 20.8. 20.8. Okay, so we'd be making about 10 million off of that. Sorry for all the faffing around with the math. So let's go to our go to a new contract that doesn't have a dropship, so it's having to pay for everything. Because we're basically being paid 500,000 per jump at scale, whatever. Which seems a little bit excessive, not going to lie. Okay, so we create ourselves a company, and we'll see what ends up being what we see. Okay, let's go to our contract. We've rolled a 6 for transportation, and that is coming up at, just make sure I'm not cutting cut off. Okay, so we're being paid 4 million. Making sure I got the numbers right. So we're being paid 4 million. We are on Terra, which should count as a hiring haul. It is not a hiring haul, so we're only being paid one way. And we are, oh, I closed it before I checked where we were going. Silly me. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, we are being paid 2 million C bills one way. Three, four, five, six. And we are going to a place called Zaviyava. Zaviyava. Okay, so we'd actually lose money off of this, which seems about right. Okay, yeah, no, this seems to work. It seems like if you get high transport, it can skew things a little bit, but we can faff around with that later. But overall, that seems like it is a good setup. Tiger, you can't use my book as a pillow, honey. So let's go back to IntelliJ. So we come back up here and contract page termination. And I am back. Sorry about that. Just had to quickly go and check on something. All right, back to IntelliJ. So we've got negotiations sorted out, at least not like properly, but at least to a basic point. Now what we need to do is track how many negotiation points the player has. This is something we couldn't do previously until we waited for some stuff to get merged, which I'm very glad to say it has been. So, how do I do this? I guess when we open up the dialogue, that would be when we would determine what the So let's go and break down some of these. We do need campaign, unfortunately. So that can get us all of this data. Then we can pass in the specific detachment. Faction standing is global. And is player clan force. That is all correct. Okay, we'll leave that like that for now. Let's go and just roll this back. Let's go and beautify up the report a little bit. So there's certain things that we don't need to see. We don't care about the contract ID. We do care about the name. Actually, no, I'm getting too into the weeds. Yeah, I think we're at a good point here. I'm not going to do any more on this today. Let's head over to the repositories. First of all, let's make sure our repository is up to date. We're probably going to end the stream a little bit early today just because of how tired I am. So just making you guys aware, we'll probably end about 4 o'clock. And we're probably going to have a little bit shorter streams this week. Definitely not for Scrotorius Bastards. Scrotorius Bastards will get the full 5 hours. But I think for my sake, I need to keep streams down a little bit, and then next week we'll do whatever it is we're doing. Okay, so let's just make sure we don't have any. This one I need to ask Hammer about. We could do a code review here. Okay, we're just going to go ahead and see if there's anything we need to action. Nothing here, all very good. Come back to that. Now that's all been fixed, so that's good. That's all good. that's a non-issue. That is all good. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and review Hammer's PR here. Now, I did a little bit of review yesterday, early today, in fact, but Hammer's asked me to take a look at this, and I said I would. So here we're going to be reviewing a new way to set up tractor-trailer pairs in your TOED, which makes a very good change. One of the fun things during testing is Radar was able to create an Ouroboros of trailers that were connected to themselves in an infinite loop. That was fun. So this is first error. So it's using integer parse int, which is the stock value, but we shouldn't be using that. Should be using math utility parse int. Let me just double check that is the correct one. Yes, it is. So one of the things I'm noting here is that we apparently have an attribute called getID, and because we are assigning a special meaning to ID, we should be storing as a const and reusing that value. Goodbye code on the left. I'm wondering. So this is actually a very inefficient way of doing this. For units, transporting transports, for unit and units. Okay, so let's have a look, see if we can do this a little bit more efficiently. So I want to go to someone where we're defining a unit. And we're just going to check our code here. Unit get transport. Perfect. So basically what I'm suggesting Hammer does here, instead of doing a nested for loop, which makes it on, or whatever it is, basically object to the power of number. It's a really inefficient way of stepping through something. So what I'm suggesting is instead of doing that, we call unit get transported units to fetch all of the units that the units being transported, and then go from there, basically. Because, okay, going back to here. So why is ON squared or NO squared, however you choose to verbalize it? I think technically it should be ON squared. It doesn't matter. Why is that a bad problem? So imagine for a sake, so we got a set of units here called transports. We've got a set of units. So let's say we have 10 transports and 10 units. That means for every transport, we are passing it 10 times. So for transport 1, we pass all 10 units. For transport 2, pass all 10 units. Transport 3, pass all 10 units. And we are having an early exit here, but that's still bad. Effectively, it means that for 10 transports and 10 units, we can expect to see 10 to the power of 10 passes. Which is, like 10 is a very small number. 10 to the power of 10 is not bad. But if you imagine that we have a really big campaign and we have 1,000 transports and 1,000 units, suddenly you're looking at 1,000 to the power of 1,000. And that's going to be a lot of passes really, really quickly. So you should always, anytime you see a for loop inside a for loop, that's a red flag. That is the code telling you, hey, you need to rethink this. You can't. This needs to be rethinked. Now there are times in which you cannot avoid ON, but wherever possible, you always should try. And if you can't, that's fine. But you must try. Because if you can convert this to O1, that means that for 10 units, so 10 transports and 10 units, or 1,000 transports, 1,000 units, you're suddenly meaning you're only needing to pass this 1,000 times instead of 1,000 to the power of 1,000. Okay, I'm going to do a little joke for Hammer here. Will that work? It doesn't. Oh well. So I'm always getting on Hammer's case about hard-coded player-facing strings, and that's what this technically is, but this is fine. And the reason why we don't want hard-coded player-facing strings is it makes internationalization impossible. And we don't have great internationalization, but we are trying to be better. And one of the things that we need to be better is to get rid of hard-coded strings that can't be translated because they're hard-coded. What's going on here? So here's an example. So in here, with your formatting based on the dynamic string, whatever this references. But then we're going, okay, for the first parameter, we're going to call it name, and then we're going to get transport name, and then we're adding in warning. And this is this is the title of the dialogue, and this is bad because it means that if we ever wanted to add in German language to MegaMek, for example, we now will never have this translated into German. This will always be English because it's fixed. Whereas if we had a reference like this one here, the code, the MekHQ itself would display based on the right language. So here we're just using the wrong nullable. I'm just confirming that it should be Jakarta. I actually need to go through the code base and swap out all the other uses that aren't Jakarta. Just because Jakarta works better with ID. One of the things that Jakarta does that the other nullables don't is it feeds it upstream, so that if you have a method inside a method and the nested method can return null, and you call the method, it'll go, hey, you need to be careful, this could be null, whereas the other nullables don't do that. Mm-hmm. Erase is more correct. Erase. Okay, so here Hammer is using a stream, and a stream is a relatively modern Java expression, and essentially it's kind of like a loop, but different. It's essentially meant to streamline the process of working with loops. The problem is, and this is a relatively inoffensive example, because we're only doing one thing. The problem I see is you'll have units stream, and there'll be all match, and then there'll be filter, then be filter, there'll be perform an action, and it actually takes what should have been a relatively simple language and completely mangles it and makes it less understandable than if you'd use a traditional loop. So I'm very wary of using streams. The other reason I'm really wary of using streams is that streams are, unless you're working with thousands of objects, a stream is actually less performative than just doing a traditional loop. And like, everybody loves using streams, but I don't like seeing them because, again, unless you're working with thousands of objects, it's more efficient to work with the traditional loops. Youngster, streams really tripped me up when I was learning Java. Yeah, you don't need to learn streams. You really don't. You can go your entire life and never using a stream, unless we are talking about a database or whatever with 1 million objects in it that all need to be parsed. Then yeah, use a stream. It's going to be better, more performative than if you're using a traditional loop. In 99% of all other cases, just use a traditional loop. You'll thank yourself later. One of the really important things that you can do with a loop that you cannot do with a stream is null protection. A stream assumes everything that the stream processes is non-null. Whereas if a null object enters the stream, say for example, if you have, I'm just putting an example out of the air that might, the youngster says, do I find it hypocritical to say that as a streamer? I don't. that is so dumb. But what was I saying? Yeah, basically just use traditional loops. Streams don't have any null protection built in, and you can't really put null protection in. So if you're ever in a situation where you could have a null passed into the array, say you have a list of units and one of the units in the list is null. Now, generally speaking, you'll never encounter this in the real, but this is just a good example. What will then happen is if you try and put that list into a stream, the stream is going to hit a null point error immediately. Whereas a traditional loop, you can include the clause, hey, if you're not null, do the thing. Or if you're null, skip it. It's all fine. Actually, I need to edit this. Okay, So why am I telling Hammer not to put a stream into a conditional statement? So this is a conditional statement. It's an if statement. A conditional statement. You can. There's plenty of names for it. I usually just call it an if statement or a conditional. So really, all this is doing is returning a Boolean yes or no, true or false. So you think, hey, putting it in the if statement's fine. But this comes back to what I've said a few times this episode about making sure that you're doing good habits always. And what you don't want to be doing is evaluating something from fresh every time you are in an if statement. So if this if statement was in a loop, or if you were passing a lot of items in here, say you were doing perform this conditional for every item in the list, suddenly this stream is running for everything. It is far better just to have a Boolean and pass the Boolean in, and it also makes the code more readable. This is fine. That should be fine. Okay. This is another red flag, a while statement. And I checked this up here, but I forgot to check it down here. So anytime you see a while, you need to go, okay, can this actually exit? And under what circumstances will this exit? So there's something about this that smells. So we're going to look into this method. List the whole train the given unit belongs to, lead track to first, and each trader in hitch order. A unit that is in no train is returned on its own. Both walks stop as soon as a unit reports. So a campaign that somehow ends up with a looped hitch cannot spin here. Okay. Okay, so this is looping through every Toad unit. Why are we having two whiles? So this is looping forwards and this is looping back, I'm guessing. Yeah, okay. So here I'm not able to say exactly what the issue is, but I'm just going to leave a comment. Something about this method feels off. It seems fine. Yeah, I think this is fine. So one of the things Hammer could do here is break out the contents of the for loop into a utility method. And then just have four unit in units do thing. I'll mention this, but I'm going to comment it as a non-essential. Non-essential. It would just make the code cleaner. It's non-essential though. Like this is fine. It becomes a problem if you have your for loop and then you have a massive, and I mean massive, block of logic that's running each loop. Really want to try and break it up wherever possible. So yeah, Hammer could absolutely break this up into a utility method. For unit in units, do utility method. For unit in units, do utility method. Whereas here, yeah, this is mostly fine. Hey PS359, glad you could join us. Oh, you've been lurking for a bit? This is fine. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, so this is a different variant of the for loop. So before you've seen for object in array of objects. Now what we're doing is we're looping not by the objects within the array, but by the indexes. So how an array works, generally speaking, so a list, in this example, it's a list. How a list works is if you imagine in your head a list of items, like a list of your favorite BattleMechs, for example, and they are numbered from 0 to whatever, where 0 is the first item in the list and whatever is the final item in the list. And that's how the lists work. So what we're doing here is saying, hey, initial trailer index equals 0. So a list always indexes from 0. So the first item is index 0. While the trailer index is less than the size of the array, add 1 to it and just keep looping. That's a completely fine way of doing things. But what I want to see here is how are we using the index? Why are we using the index? We're using the index to get entity. But where else are we using the index? Okay, so we're using the index to check. Not performative. So we're using this style of loop so that we're working with indexes, which should be fine. Yeah, this is probably the most efficient way of doing it because we're using the index. It's probably not necessary, but I don't think it's an issue here. So we're going to leave that as using the stream here. And again, the stream in a conditional, not ideal. And we'll add in the hyphen. Okay, so this is a really cool trick that I use myself a lot. This is a dynamic key. So what we're doing here is we're going to be saying, okay, get text at. This is the key. So we're saying toe mouse adapter dot period unassigned period, and then whatever the transport type's name is, period text, and that allows us to very easily fetch whatever key, whatever value we need from the resource bundle without needing to create a lot of boilerplate. This is actually a really good thing. I use this a lot myself. Okay, this is all good. I will leave a note here for readability. It can sometimes be good to define the key separate to the get text method. Just makes, when working with a dynamically defined reference key. For example, get that. Okay, so we've got 2 for loops here. What are we for looping over? Okay, this is just updating it. That's all fine. Do we need... I question whether we need the 2 unit changed events. Yeah, that seems fine. Except this is not ideal. Yeah, that'll be fine. I've done it myself before. Nothing particularly exciting happening there. This is always an incredibly dangerous thing to do. So this is saying while true. So this will always loop unless one of these clauses returns true. BattleTech that says that's a red flag. Yeah, so sometimes while true can be valid. It can be a valid option, but it's such a dangerous thing to do. Yeah, because all it requires is an edge case in here, and the player is going to get into an infinite loop that they cannot break out of, and essentially they'll to the player the entire client just locks up and they can't do anything. It can sometimes, depending on their system, just lock up the entire computer. It's a really bad thing. Yeah, no, I'm always very suspicious of wild trues. It's like you see a lot in junior developers in my experience, because they're like, oh hey, I you know, it's fine. I made sure it was all good, but all it requires is a change in the body of the loop, and suddenly it's infinite loop city. Okay, so this is fine here, but we are defining it twice. We're defining. So we're just gonna say pass it, make a variable, pass it around. This is fine, but when we're using it multiple times, it's far better to just, you know. Oh, we're using this multiple times as well. Are we? No, we're low transport dialogue. Yes. Oh, that's text and that's title. Okay, that's fine. But yeah, instead of defining it twice, it's far better to. Also, this doesn't need to be. Oh, actually, both of these can be get text out. Let's get rid of this. Because get text at is significantly cheaper than what's being done here. I'll explain all this in just a second. Okay, so because of how get formatted text at works, it uses a string formatter, which is a really, really expensive process, like surprisingly expensive. And what that means is we really need to use get textstat, which doesn't include the formatter, anytime we can. We should always use get formatted text only when we actually need it. To give you an example of how expensive it is, some of you may have noticed, if you have a large campaign, how campaign loading is significantly sped up over the past year or so. The reason being is that we started reducing the amount of formatting we were doing on campaign load, because when the campaign loads the daily report, that is the most expensive part. Like, seriously, that is the most expensive part of the entire campaign load process because of the formatter it has to run. And it's crazy. You wouldn't believe it, but it really is. The string formatter in Java is very, very expensive. I believe it's expensive because it evaluates each individual substring, so letter, whitespace, individually, and just keeps rebuilding it. It creates a lot of churn. I'm not a fan. Okay, then we go to tests. We can take a look at the tests, but generally speaking, I don't have a whole bunch to say about tests. They're tests, they do test things. So generally speaking, when it comes to tests, I just trust that the test is probably written correctly. This definitely has some requested changes though. There we go. Cardboard Text says my eyes glaze over when reviewing unit tests. Oh my god, okay. I am so glad I'm not the only person, because I look at the kind of see unit tests, my eyes just go, it's a test. It tests things probably in the correct way. It passes. It's probably correct. Yeah, I am Psycho Monkey. Psycho Monkey is really, really good at reviewing tests. I am absolutely fucking terrible. I am not the person you want reviewing your tests, because if it passes, I'm just going to give you a thumbs up and say it's probably good, champ. Off you go. Yeah, no, this overall really, really positive, really strong. It's going to be it's going to be definitely an improvement to the experience in MekHQ. Like, that's one thing I want to be very, very clear here. I've requested changed it, and I've been quite critical with some of the things that it does, but that does not mean it's not a positive change. It's not a change. It doesn't mean it's not a change I'm not looking forward to. Probably just some double negatives. Let me rephrase. It's a change I'm looking forward to. It's a change I believe is positive, but especially nowadays, we have to be very, very strict with the code that we're putting in. And yeah, in this case, I'm just simply not able to approve it. But that seems to basically be it. We're now at 4:15, and I did say I was going to leave the stream a little bit early today, so I will say I'm going to head out, gonna have myself a nice cup of tea or something, and just chill. I am going to have a read of Destiny, and I'm going to have a chat with Ashtrazi to see what they can recommend for solo GMing stuff, and I'll let you guys know what the plan is once I've got that figured out. But yeah, if you have enjoyed today's meander through our code base, please consider hitting follow so you can be notified when we go live. If you would like to support the channel in a fiscal way, there is the option you can subscribe to get access to a whole bunch of special emotes. You can use bits to get a bunch of special powers, including adopting a character in the Scritorious Bastard ongoing campaign. And if you're feeling particularly generous, you can also press !tip and pop a tip in the tip jar. But yeah, we will be back on Thursday. I definitely won't be around tomorrow. I've got a big important doctor thingy. But yeah, so until Thursday, I will wish you all a lovely time and take care. Toodles!